All right, trying to get this video up really quick. I'm in just like a random environment here. Busy day, squeezing a video in right before I have a praise and worship event tonight that has been one of the many things that I've been busy preparing for today. Nonetheless, getting this video out. One thing that I've been thinking about today that's been on my mind today is decision making, good decision making, short-term, long-term consequences, because we are so short-term oriented. We live in this instantized culture. We have cell phones, laptops, the world is at our fingertips. Everything is immediate and at our disposal. We have microwaves. We have everything that makes life convenient for us, and everything is becoming as quick as possible. And we get like discouraged or angry or disappointed when things aren't immediate for us. We lose patience so quickly with things, and we need things to be so short term and so at our fingertips. And I think that becomes consequential in our decision making because we lack the ability to see long term. And in so many ways in our lives, a lot of our decision making comes in what is going to give me instant gratification. And a lot of those things that are just like short-term gratification type decision-making situations, scenarios, are things that might cause us to fall into sin or are just generally bad decisions. As a pretty clear example, I would say choosing what food to eat. Okay, if I'm going to eat some sweets, and I understand that eating sweets are probably not the best thing for me. Say I'm trying to stick to healthy eating, but I have this craving for sweets. And the decision is this. It's either I get the short-term gratification, the short-term pleasure of satisfying my craving for the sweets, or I take the long-term good choice to not give in to my cravings, eat something healthy that is actually nourishing to me and is not just going to satisfy the taste that I want, but is something that's actually going to nourish my body, the purpose of food. I can make the short-term decision to satisfy my craving, or I can make the long-term decision to satisfy my body's need for nourishment. And because we are so short-term gratification, short-term oriented, our decision-making in that kind of situation and so many other situations becomes a little bit clouded. So very simple process to try to help that decision-making process, kind of along the lines of something that my priest was mentioned in his homily this past Sunday about making these good decisions. Step one is to stop and to breathe, because we go so fast, and because we need everything to be so fast that if we can't stop and actually think about the things that we're deciding on, then it becomes whatever is the quickest, whatever is the most immediate. But if we can stop and breathe, which I'm needing to remind myself to do right now as I record this, stop and breathe. And that helps us to clear that fog, to clear our minds, to get the broader perspective of the short-term, long-term, real life scenario and consequences. And from there, a good question that I think is important to ask in most situations would be, how am I going to feel about this tomorrow? How am I going to feel about this next week? Dependent on the situation, dependent on the circumstances, what the thing is. How am I, if I say yes to this short-term gratification instead of looking at the long-term consequences of this, how am I going to feel about it tomorrow? In the food example, if I eat the sweets, if I have some junk to satisfy my craving, I'm not going to feel good tomorrow. I'm going to regret maybe doing that. Whereas if I made the long-term play of eating something nourishing, eating something healthy, I'm going to feel so much better tomorrow. But it takes first, step one, stop, breathe. To clear that fog, to clear our mind, to see the short-term and the long-term options, that there are two options. And then from there, in that clarity, we're able to ask the question, how is this going to make me feel tomorrow? How am I long-term going to look back on this situation. 2-step process. Very simple, but very hard because we're so short-term oriented, but hopefully that's a process that you can use to make better decisions, short-term and long-term, to make you a healthier, better version of yourself.